Game 2, Spider the Video Game. Part 1, Background. Continuing our streak of games never released in Japan, Spider the Video Game spooked many people when it hit the shelves of North America in late February of 1997. Before playing this, I had never heard of the developers Boss Game Studios, probably because outside of Spider they only ever made 5 other games, all of which were racing games, before going out of business in 2002. As well, the publishers BMG Interactive is a name that many today might not know, but they were the publishers of a hit game called Grand Theft Auto. BMG was later acquired and rebranded into Rockstar Games. Going into Spider completely blind, I don't know what to expect. The game's packaging material shows a lot of faded scientific documents, which is in stark contrast to the front cover showing a metal-as-hell spider coming at you wielding a shotgun and a Bowie knife. Ready for a real spooking, we dive into the 30 bizarre 3D levels of Spider the Video Game. Part 2, My Playthrough. Before starting, we're given a cinematic panning into the National Nanotechnological Research Laboratory. Inside, a scientist completes the creation of a device that allows him to transfer his consciousness into a mechanical spider. While this is occurring, an unknown executive from an evil corporation called Microtech sends a group of armed soldiers to collect the technology. They do this by firing wildly at both the scientist and his computers. In a flurry of bullets, the scientist transfers his consciousness into the robotic spider before being shot countless times in the back. Trapped in the mechanical body, the scientist witnessed the soldiers escape with his body, and the title card drops. Upon hitting start on the main menu, we're thrust into the world map where we select the first stage of World 1, the laboratory. Entering Stage 1, we see that the game is less 3D and more 2.5D, which isn't a problem at all. We love 2.5D games in this household. After a second of getting our bearings, we learn that we have a slash attack as well as the ability to climb vertical walls, just like a real spider. After a little exploration, we find some weapons like a flamethrower and a missile launcher that we attach to our legs. Unfortunately, ammo is limited, so we have to pick our battles wisely. We continue on until we find a platform that has a mysterious green orb on it and a strange scale-looking object under it. Being the spider that we are, we naturally climb under the platform and use our webs to collect the mysterious power-up. From here, we make our way back to the orb and, upon touching it, are taken back to the map screen, allowing us to advance to the next stage. Much like Stage 1, the sync is still a tutorial level designed for us to get used to the controls and mechanics of the game. This time, we're jumping over pits and attacking more spiders. With a few jumps and some more combat, we find another scale collectible and the exit to the stage. Back on the world map, we realize 2 things. 1, the scale objects seem to be filling some kind of circle in the bottom left of the screen, and 2, some stages have a different number of red pips after their name. Wonder what those mean? Well, no way to know without moving on. On to Stage 3, Laptop. This level has us going through the destroyed section of the lab, sparking cables and pits of fire. It's here that we encounter our first big problem with the game. Enemies come from off-screen with no warning. If you don't know where the enemies are, you'll likely get hit just by virtue of how zoomed in the camera is. Continuing deeper into the stage, we find a branching path. After deciding to go up, we find the exit to the stage. Now, from here we could leave, but wanting the scale, we brave our way back down and to the other path. This doesn't give us the scale, but instead a second exit. We don't take this other exit and instead continue to hunt for the scale. Not finding it, we begrudgingly take the upper exit back to the world map. Here we find that completing the stage has filled out one of the 3 pips by the level's name, and increased the counter in the top right to 3 out of 3, removing the valve that was blocking us from moving to World 2. Not satisfied with partial information, we re-enter Stage 3 to see what the other exit does. In our revisit, we find the scale is hidden in plain sight. We foolishly walked past it a number of times without realizing it. After collecting the scale and reaching the exit, we see on the world map another pip is filled, and the counter in the top right reads 4 out of 3. But that's not all. Collecting all 3 scales in this world has unlocked a bonus stage. Still not totally satisfied with the whole not having every exit in the laptop, we enter one last time, finding the 3rd orb. On to the bonus level. Here in the 70s room, we're immediately blasted with a Mystery Machine style wallpaper surrounding a classic 70s style room. From wood panel furniture to hippie paraphernalia to the glorious lava lamp, this room just oozes 70s charm. The stage itself doesn't ask much in the way of platforming challenges. It's more just here to look cool, which is great for a bonus stage. After touching the orb and completing the stage, we return to the world map to see the exit counter in the top right showing 6 out of 3. We then move on to World 2. When moving into World 2, we are immediately met with a cutscene where we see the 2 hired goons carrying our human body out of the lab. Our spider form begins to pursue them, leading us into a large industrial complex that the goons have broken into. Without delay, we enter Stage 1, Boxes. In this level, we start to see the platforming ramp up as we're expected to make jumps landing on the side of boxes using our spider abilities to climb back up to safety. The stage as a whole is pretty standard, just jumping from box to box while memorizing the enemy placements because much like World 1, they come from off-screen and are near impossible to react to. After finding the orb, we decide to re-enter the stage to hunt for the scale, since the bonus stage in World 1 was basically free. A quick dip back in, we take the upper path, netting us the scale and moving us on to the next level, conveyor belts. The game continues to ramp up from here, having us make very awkward jumps between conveyor belts, which add an extra layer of difficulty. The platforming, however, is not the issue here. What were the constant barrage of shots being fired from wasps off-screen, which take us out in 2 hits. A few attempts in, we take our first game over and find that the penalty for doing so is just restarting the stage, which is the same as losing a life, so it's not a big deal. On continue number 2, we find the scale and also make it to the exit, taking us on to another 3-exit stage, the machine room. Being a 3-exit stage, we dive in headfirst, dodging some off-screen rats and finding the first exit without much exploration. On attempt number 2, we find the scale above some crushers and leave through the first exit we found to save our progress. Attempt number 3, we find a lava pit with a shield that, after picking it up and running over the lava, we get our second exit. Attempt number 4, instead of jumping into the lava pit, we move past it, getting us the 3rd exit. Now, on to the bonus stage. Another level with 3 exits. Tuber here has us going through a series of maze-like pipes where, outside of the pits of Deathwater, the biggest threat is, you guessed it, the enemies that are impossible to see. 3 easy trips in, we get the exits and make our way to the first boss. Mechanical Arm here has 3 distinct attacks, a slam, a spin, and throwing some bombs. After learning the tells for each attack, we punish the slam with an attack of our own, and after landing 10 hits, we take out the boss. Back at the world map, we see we have 15 out of the required 8 exits, and we head on to World 3. Once again, before the world begins, we are met with a cutscene. This time, we see the goons steal a briefcase from the factory, escape out a window, and make their way into the city. Following them, we enter Stage 1 and finally get our first sight of daylight as we make our way down the street. After moseying a little, we find an open grate allowing us to enter the sewers and find the scale before quickly making our way to the exit. On to Stage 2, the first 2-exit stage of the game. This level has us scaling the side of a building and dodging more spiders and wasps. Finding exit 1, we don't take it since there's still a scale at large. Here we encounter yet another large issue. Much like the issue of the camera being too zoomed in for us to see the enemies from off-screen, we also can't see the platforms we are meant to be jumping onto. This results in us dropping down onto an exit without realizing it. Taking a second dip into the stage, we find the scale hidden below the exit that we had just fallen onto, and sadly, being down here, we no longer have a way to get back up. We enter the orb, then do the stage 1 final time, getting us the final exit. On to another 2-exit stage, the park. We begin with some jumps over a puddle before finding a hole under a log that leads us through a series of fire spouts and poison-spitting rats. Why this park is so dangerous is beyond me, but this gets us the scale. We make the return trip to the mouth of the hole and continue on. We find another branching path and decide to take the top path. Here we are asked to make a very tight jump away from the camera. We fail this jump a few times and decide that since we lose the scale each time we die, to try the lower path because there's a chance that it would be easier and prevent us from having to repeat the fire pit over and over and over. Making our way down the lower path, we find is the exact same jump as the upper path. Sad. We try to make the jump and fail. Even sadder. Fortunately, we make the jump on our next attempt, locking in the scale. Re-entering the park, we managed to make the jump in the upper path on our first try, because of course we did. And this gets us the second exit. Onto the bonus stage. Under the Street has us just doing some simple jumps in the sewer. After learning the enemy locations, we make it through quick and painless. From under to along, we encounter what might be the most annoying level in the entire game. In this level, all platforming is removed and instead replaced with a gauntlet of enemies being thrown at us. If it wasn't clear up to this point, the combat in this game is very lackluster, meaning we took a lot of deaths here to the dive-bombing flies, bomb-dropping bats, and boomerang-throwing mantises. This stage is straightforward and straight-up frustrating. After 20 minutes of attempts, we find the exit and cautiously approach because we've been tricked one too many times at this point. Loading back into the world map, we see we've completed World 3 with 22 out of the 12 required exits. On to World 4. Tradition continues as we're met with another cutscene. This time, the goons are being picked up in front of a local chicken shop and brought to a museum. Naturally, we follow. Entering the museum, we start with a 3-exit stage, the display case. We quickly find the first exit by going from the floor to the tops of the cases. Re-entering the stage, we go over the display cases, through the vents, and into a room filled with broken TVs as well as live wires. These obstacles aren't much of a problem, but what is a problem is the spiders that descend from off-screen, knocking us into the void over and over. After a dozen or so attempts, we decide the frustration isn't worth it and use our extra banked stage clears to skip the remaining exits here. In the next stage, we see something all museums are known for. That's right, say it with me, the active volcano exhibit with real lava. This stage is another pain in the neck with blind jumps into fire spitters and enemies. After 20 minutes of attempts, we finally find the exit by blindly jumping off a platform. Thankfully, the next stage gets us back on theme, having us scale a dinosaur skeleton. This level is actually a lot of fun and doesn't ask anything crazy of us. It is instead just pure platforming on some spooky bones. We happily get the one exit here. Let's hope that the next level is even half as good, because Model City here has 4 exits. We begin by exploring to the left. This side is riddled with enemies and fire pits, a recipe for one of the stages of all times. We take a death deep into this section to a fire pillar that has a hitbox extending through a platform. We decide to try the right side next. This side isn't much better. We find that the end of this path is a pit that looks a little bit too large to jump over, and is in fact too large to jump over. On our second attempt before reaching the pit, we accidentally walk into a fire spitter, revealing that it's actually the entrance to a hidden path that houses an exit. Good enough, let's move on to the next boss. This fight is divided into 2 phases. Phase 1 has us dodging falling debris, which isn't too bad, and we occasionally get extra health pickups. Surviving long enough, we make it into Phase 2. Here, a large decomposing monster spits fire at us from either side of the platform. After throwing our boomerang at it a dozen times, the boss goes down. Or maybe it went down because we survived long enough. That wasn't exactly clear, but with the museum done, we make our way to World 5. The next cutscene shows us trying to follow the goons into their base, but sadly due to the fact that we are a spider, we can't get past their automatic glass door. Not being dissuaded, we decide to go through the poop chute. We descend down a manhole into the sewers. Now in World 5, we no longer have enough exits built up, only having 27 of the 29 required here. Not too bad, but we need to start playing catch up. Stage 1, the well, begins exactly the same as the bonus stage from World 2, with all the pipes and death water we've already seen. We rush through the pipes and reach a spiral rock well that, after a little bit of climbing, we reach the top and make it to the exit. The next level, along the sewer, has us doing more platforming through muck waterfalls and over spinning cogs. This wouldn't be too bad, but once again, the enemies are omnipresent and so upsetting. I swear, if this game didn't have enemies, it would be so much more enjoyable. After a few attempts, we find the exit, sitting on top of a floating Chinese food container. This leads us into a stage that pretty well summarizes the whole Spider the video game experience. This is Food Carton. In this stage, we are presented with a new perspective, top-down. This new camera angle makes it even harder to judge jump distance, see enemies, or even enjoy the game. This stage doesn't really do anything exciting or new outside the camera, so there isn't much to say here. After slowly memorizing all of the enemy locations, we make one final tight jump to get the exit. Up the well, Stage 4 is almost identical to Stage 1 from this world, from the pipe opener to the well climbing ending. This is exactly the same as the stage we've already completed, except with more enemies. Having already done this stage before, we clear it easily, giving us 31 out of the 29 required exits. On to the final world. We are met one last time with a cutscene showing our beloved spider riding a takeout container to the edge of the sewers, climbing out a drain hole and over a pill-ridden terminal to locate our human body being held in a stasis tube. On to the evil labs. Circuit boards. The first stage is very similar to dinosaur bones from the museum in the sense that it's a very straightforward stage with a fun theme. However, instead of having our beloved bones, this time we're platforming over gross computer parts. This stage does have some issues in the form of unexpected bugs. These bugs, much like the rest of the game, are able to hit us from off-screen, causing problems. After a shocking few number of attempts, we find the exit. Stage 2 is the laptop, which continues the trend of being very similar to earlier stages in the game. This time, however, it is very similar to the labs from World 1. This level isn't the worst all around. Enemies are fairly placed and platforming isn't too bad, but we couldn't get off that easily because this stage is so unbelievably long, and even the slightest mistake takes us back to the start. We succeed after what felt like 40 minutes of attempts, but in actuality it was only our 5th attempt. Stage 3 is another copy of an earlier stage, but this time we're only going back a singular level to the circuit board. Not much to talk about here in Hard Drive other than the fact that the enemies are bad. We find the exit in early double-digit attempts and move on to the final stage. The ceiling tests every bit of patience that we have since, unlike previous levels, all damage on this stage kills us instantly. The stage itself requires no platforming skill and is instead pure memorization of enemies. Once we get the enemy placement down, we make it through the stage and on to the final oh, wait. We're missing 3 exits. Well, alright. We decide to take on a few of the less offensive or quick stages. Food cartons is still fresh in our mind, so that's one. Up the well was easy enough, so that's another. And Model City from the museum had 4 exits, so there's a chance that at least one of those isn't the worst. We get all 3 pretty quickly and are then actually on to the final boss. Before starting the fight, we are met with a cutscene showing our spider climbing into the big bad boss's room, revealing that he has been nothing more than a giant brain with floating eyes the whole time. Let the fight begin. In this battle, we are placed in a circular arena. The boss has 2 types of attacks, a claw grab from his brainstem and laser beams from his eyes. Pretty quickly, we realize that having the laser beams shoot the metal pillars around the arena cause them to become electrified. Once electrified, if the brain's claw attack touches the rods, he is electrocuted and the pillar is destroyed. After breaking every pillar, one final smack from our slash attack causes the brain to melt into a pile of goo. With the boss defeated, we get our final cutscene, showing our spider overloading the building's power supply, blowing up everything, and freeing our body. Now free, our body grabs the spider and makes a run for his life to the exit out of the burning building. Somehow safe from the dangers of an exploding office complex, we get our final view of the spider powering down. Mission complete flashes on the screen, the credits roll, and we've officially finished Spider the video game. Part 3. Final thoughts. When it comes to gameplay, Spider the video game isn't the worst, but suffers from some glaring issues that make the game very frustrating by the end. The camera being so zoomed in that you can't see where you're jumping is rough, but not nearly as bad as the super fast, super strong enemies that can hit you before you have a chance to see them, forcing you to restart a stage from the beginning. Visually, this game has so much PS1 charm that the console can barely handle it, and by barely handle it, I mean that the camera has to be zoomed in at any given point to reduce lag, so you never really get to see a clear picture of the very cool environments in their entirety, and even then, it can be choppy from time to time. The game is also sadly pretty dark and drab, which makes most areas not the most fun to look at. Now, when it comes to music, this game is second to none. The game's composer, Barry Litch, clearly put endless amounts of care and passion into his work, going as far as to remaster the entire soundtrack in 2024. This OST has all the right music for a creepy, crawly sci-fi thriller. With that said though, the soundtrack is only great in a vacuum. While playing the game, the music is just too quiet, so you'll either hardly hear it or have to risk having your eardrums blown out by the horribly unbalanced sound design. The story here doesn't make a lot of sense. Why did the bad guys shoot the scientist in his computer in the beginning if they just wanted his tech? How did a small spider manage to keep up with a speeding car? How did our consciousness get switched back in the end? Did we even live in the end? So many unanswered questions and weird plot holes. While this game isn't super unique in terms of being a standard 2.5D platformer, the scope of being a little spider against a large world of scary cybernetically enhanced insects is pretty neat and worth a few points in my eyes. As an overall experience, the game isn't mechanically challenging. The controls are decent and the early stages are fun, but that fun quickly dries up as the enemies become more prevalent. The enemies are the hardest part of this game, and boy do they sap every ounce of enjoyment from the second half. I ended up walking away from this experience pretty frustrated, but relieved for it to be done. Thankfully, the game was short and didn't overstay its welcome. Unfortunately, the cool theming and totally metal cover can only take a game so far. In the end, Spider the video game took me 5 hours and 21 minutes to finish, and was awarded a 3 out of 10 in gameplay, a 5 out of 10 in graphics, a 7 out of 10 in music, a 3 out of 10 in story, a 4 out of 10 in wow factor, a 6 out of 10 in difficulty, and an overall score of 4 out of 10. Thank you all so very much for making it to the end of the video. If this is your first step in the PSXpedition, then welcome. Consider subscribing to the channel so that you can be up to date when new videos come out. At the time of recording this, I still have over 250 games recorded, ready to make write-ups on, with more being finished every week. If you'd like to see the unedited full playthrough of Spider the video game or any of the other games that I have finished up to this point, they are all uploaded to the VOD archive. Or if you would like to see me finish these games live, my Twitch is always linked down below. Don't forget to like and leave a comment on this video, as it is an easy way to support me. I appreciate you being here. I've been Uriah, and I hope to see you again on our next step in the PSXpedition.